So today we're going to be making a video on my personal top 5 cigar essentials. So there was a couple reasons I wanted to make this video. First was just to show off some of the accessories and products that I've found over the years that I think are good, and just kind of wanted to shout them out and share them with you guys. But the second reason is because there's so many products out there, and it's really tough to figure out which ones, are good or provide a good value. And I clearly have a lot of products and have done a lot of experimentation, so I just wanted to save you guys some time, because I know it can be really overwhelming trying to go through everything and find something good. You don't want to waste your time or your money. So that's why I'm making this video, and I hope it helps. And before I get started, just wanted to let you guys know that everything I'm showing here is going to be linked down in the description below. So if there's something you think is cool and that you want to pick up for yourself, you can find the link down there. So these essentials are in no real particular order, but I did want to start with lighters because I do think they are probably the most essential accessory or item when it comes to this hobby. Outside the cigars themselves, you can get away with not having a cutter. You can, pinch the tip or use a knife or something of, that nature. But there really is no substitute for lighting your cigar. So when it comes to cigar lighters, there's really only two different categories. You either have a soft flame or you have a jet lighter. So for soft flames, I only have two. I have this one. I'm not sure the brand, but it's more of like your traditional styled lighter. These are nice if you're indoors or if you just want, to light your cigar in a more traditional way, but any type of wind will blow them out. So outside, they're not really the best. I would much, rather use a torch lighter. This one is also a soft flame, but this one's pretty cool because it has both a torch and a soft flame. So if you wanted to do a majority of the toasting, of the cigar with the torch, just to speed up that process, and then finish it with the soft flame, you could do that. But this is pretty cool. Moving right along, those are the only soft flames I have. Obviously, you could use like a grill lighter or something like that, which is totally fine. But for cigars specifically, these are only two soft flames I have. This one is from a brand called Vertigo. It has this cool, matte textured case on it, copper finishing as well. And this is actually interesting. This is a flat flame, so it's a torch, but it's flat. I don't know if that really serves any purpose. I don't use this often, but I think it looks pretty cool. So then, all right, you have to speed this up. So this one's pretty nice. Dual flame. I do like this one a lot. Slim. This one is from a brand called Lethune, and it's, the same brand as some of these other ones here, Zyphi, Funaki, I think. Yeah, those are all the same parent company. It's Zyphi. They make great products. Also another good brand, Vertigo, affordable. Same dual flame lighter here. This one's gotten a lot of use. Then some single flames as well. This one's just a really small single flame lighter. I don't typically use single flame lighters because it just takes a little bit longer to light your cigar, but it is kind of nice for those smaller ring gauge cigars or just for doing touch-ups. This is another single flame lighter from Zyphi. This one's obviously a lot larger, but the reason it's a lot larger, obviously you have a larger reservoir for the fuel, but it also has a bunch of different features. So it has a cigar stand built in. You just unscrew it. Also has a cigar punch. And then, is that it? Oh, and then if you undo this here, it has a cigar poker. And then the actual single flame. So it is quite a bit more powerful. This is a really nice lighter. I do like this one a lot. So the other cylindrical lighter I have here, also from Zyphi, or I guess this one is Lethune, has a built-in cigar rest in the top, has the punch cutter at the bottom again, but this one is an electric ignition. So you can open it, you can see that it's, I guess, fully charged here. And then, all right, just a little pocket of fuel here. So triple torch, so this will light your cigars much faster. Yeah, it's just a little different. Then we got some larger lighters over here. Some of these you can see here, they have built-in V-cuts. I think this one actually has some of these actually have multiple different cutting options. So this one's from Zyphy. I made a video specifically on this lighter. I've been using this a ton. Yeah, obviously it has, you know, a V-cut, has a flat cut, has your punch cut, has a cigar rest on top, and it also has 4 torches. So it's super powerful, and it has a huge fuel reservoir. Oh, it also has this poker as well. But this is obviously a lot larger, so it's not as portable. If you're on the go, you probably want to have a smaller lighter. This is another one. This is Funaki, and it's a 4 torch. This one doesn't have quite as many built-in features, but it does have this built-in cutter, which is nice, and it also has the punch cut. And then we got this one from San Antonio Cigar. This probably has the best V-cutter, built-in V-cutter of any of these lighters, and it has an automatic action here, and it's probably the sharpest as well. So you got that. I think most of these have a punch cut. Actually, no, this one doesn't. Well, but it's got the cigar rest on top, and this one is a triple torch. And then this is also a triple torch from Zyphy with the V-cut. No punch cut. But this one you don't have to open, it just automatically opens when you ignite it. You just close it up. Then the last one is this this lighter from Lethune. It's got the V-cut right there. It has a punch cut up top, and then it's a dual flame. So obviously you don't need all of these, but there are some different options. You got your single torches, you got your triple torches, you got your tabletop style lighters, and you got your soft flames. So you really only need one. If I had to pick one of all of these, it would probably be just any of the double or triple torch lighters, just because of their versatility. But that's cigar essential number 1. You have your lighters. All right, so moving on to cigar essential number 2, we're gonna do cigar cutters. And actually, before we move on and I get into the cutters, if you see this box right here, this is just an old cigar box that I have, and this is just what I use to organize all my accessories, just so they're not all laying around and I don't lose anything. So I got some matches, I just put all my lighters back in there, and then I play Tetris and put my cutters in there as well. So as far as cigar cutters go, there's really only 3 different categories. You have your V-cuts, like this TISFA V-cutter. So that'll just put like a nice V-shaped cut in your cigar. You have your straight cuts, like these double guillotines. It's the X1. So that's nice. And then you have your cigar scissors, which are kind of gimmicky. They're kind of cool, but it's essentially just a straight cut as well. V-cuts are nice with shape tip cigars. You can use them on, you know, your standard, I guess, rounded tip cigars. This one right here, I just picked up at a local cigar store. This is my cheapest one, but you know, it does the job every bit as good as these other ones. This is just, it's a double guillotine with a back here, so it prevents you from cutting too much off the cigar, and that's a nice kind of feature. This is basically the same exact thing. It's just made out of metal. It's a little higher quality, and it also has a hole in the back. If you have like a bellicosa or a shape tip, it can go through there and you can cut off a little bit more. I already showed you guys this one, but this is just like a spring assisted V-cut. And these are essentially the same thing, both spring assisted double guillotine cutters. This is just the Romeo and Julieta one. This one's pretty nice. And this one is the Cigar again. This is probably the sharpest one I have. I guess that is one thing you do want to make sure when you're buying a cutter, is you're just getting a sharp cutter. If you have a dull blade, it can ruin the cigar, crack it, or kind of just rip it off, and you just want to make sure you get a nice clean cut. So making sure the blade is sharp is good, and there's no real way for you to sharpen the blade of the cutter, so you just have to make sure that you buy one that is sharp. I'll say all these on the table here are very sharp, and they do the job well. And they're just, you know, these different cutters here, they're just different styles. This one is pretty cool though. So you probably saw with some of the lighters, but Zyfe, they release a lot of products with, a lot of features. So a lot of those lighters even have the cutters built in. If you get one of those, you really don't need a separate cutter. Some people just like to have accessories, and clearly I'm one of those people. But this one's pretty cool because it has a built-in assisted double guillotine and a built-in assisted V cutter. So if you have this cutter, and you always have the option to do one or the other. Again, some of those lighters offer the same features. And then these are Cigarism scissors. These actually are kind of nice if you're cutting a shape tip cigar, or if you just want to be fancy. But yeah, these are my cigar cutters. Here, if I had to recommend one, if you know you're just going to want a double guillotine cutter, I don't think you can go wrong with Cigar. They're one of the best brands in the industry when it comes to quality, and they are a little bit more expensive, but they'll last you a long time. The other one I'd recommend is this one by Zyfe. It's actually really well made. It's pretty heavy, it's durable. It also has a punch cutter built in the bottom, forgot to mention that. But with this one, you can get both the V-cut and the straight cut. All right, so the third cigar essential that I'm gonna recommend is some kind of travel humidor or travel cigar case. So the two main options here are gonna be your smaller, kind of more portable options. What are these called? These are called like cigar sleeve, maybe, something like that. But these are good. They're a little bit more concealable. You can just slide them into like a coat pocket or something. And then the other option is your hard case travel humidor. Like I mentioned, these are nice and slim, usually more, smaller than, your hard case variants, but obviously you're limited with the amount of cigars that you can fit in here. These also aren't a long-term storage solution for your cigars. They will protect your cigars, but the humidity, obviously it's not an airtight seal or anything like that. So your cigars should really only be staying in here for a few hours max. This version right here is a little bit more lightweight, a little slimmer even, but same thing. Your cigars will be fine in here for a couple hours, probably even a couple days. Then you have your hard case humidors, travel humidors, and these are much better for like actually traveling, even like day-to-day travel if you have them as well. Like if you're going to the cigar lounge and you want to bring more than a couple cigars, pop them in one of these. It tells you the humidity. It also holds, a lot more cigars. You can have a cigar in here. Last time I went to the lounge. But, what is that? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can fit about 6 Churchill-sized cigars in this one. Has an airtight seal. It's also hard plastic, like PVC. So your cigars are definitely safe in here. If you're gonna do, airplane travel or anything like that, definitely recommend this over one of these. This one here is just essentially another version of this, except this one from Zyfe or one of their other brands, Cigar. It comes with some accessories. You got a punch cut, you got a straight cut, and you have a V-cut. So that's kind of nice too. That way, if you use this one, you're never going to forget any of your essentials at home. And then if we pop this open, also airtight with capacity for like 5 cigars in this one. Could be more. If they're smaller, you can, put them in here vertically, but if you go horizontally, about 5 Churchills. So this one is another nice one. Again, same high quality construction. And then this one, I've got, all these are from Amazon, by the way. This is just a much larger version of these. I can't imagine ever really needing to put this many cigars in a travel humidor. The only time I could really think of doing that is maybe if I'm going on like an extended vacation, or if I think I'm going to be going somewhere where I want to bring cigars back and I may be purchasing a lot of them. This is a great option. It does have a huge capacity. So I don't even know what this one's rated for. I'm going to say upwards of 20 cigars. Maybe not with all of these pads in here, but so in order to maximize the space, you're probably going to need to remove some of these pads, and it comes with a few in here. But if we get to the bottom, you can see it's pretty deep. You probably want at least one in there, but then from here, I'd say you could fit at least 20, possibly even 30 cigars. Just obviously it's significantly larger than the alternatives. So if I had to recommend one of these, I would probably go with one of these two, either the Cigar with the accessories or this one called Stogie Safe. Like I already showed you, they're like the same exact thing. I've had this one for longer, and this one's a more recent pickup, but they're both fantastic. So either one of these, I don't think you could go wrong with. So the fourth cigar essential is gonna be your at-home humidor. So right here, I have three different types of what they would call a desktop humidor, because they're small enough to, just put on your desk. The reason this is on here is because your cigars, when they're being stored, they need to be kept humidified. If they're not humidified, they can dry out, they can crack, and your cigars will get ruined. So you store your cigars in a humidor. And these are three different options here. So I've used all three of these, and they're all a little bit different. So this was actually the first one I got. This is just an acrylic airtight humidor. So if you'll see people talk about these. These are really great, similar to kind of storing it in a Tupperware, except you have a hygrometer on top of there. This is great if you're starting out and you don't have a ton of cigars in your collection, because it, like I said, it keeps them safe. It has an airtight environment in here, which is really nice. This glass top humidor is not airtight, so you can potentially have issues with keeping your humidity stable. That won't be an issue in this humidor. It's just kind of small. So when I had a small collection and I was starting out, this was a great option, and it's the most affordable option. If you want a more traditional humidor, this is, I think, called the Bald Eagle glass top humidor. It's actually constructed really well, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to really see it on the camera here, but it's solid Spanish cedar. So a lot of the more affordable desktop humidors like this one will have like a veneer in here. And so the fact that this is solid Spanish cedar is really nice. And it's actually constructed pretty well. It has like the nice hinges in there. And also, I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it, but you can hear it seal. So this one in particular is actually really nice. I typically am able to maintain a steady humidity in here, and I was using this one. This was the second one I got after this acrylic humidor. It's just a little bit more elegant, and it can hold a few more cigars, but one of these two is a great one to start out with. You do have to be kind of careful with both of these. With the actual reading of these kind of analog style hygrometers, they can be a little bit off. I actually found that these were pretty accurate, and we'll get to another accessory later on, but you might want to have a secondary option to monitor the humidity in this kind of humidor. But this is a really nice desktop humidor. And then the most recent desktop humidor that I've picked up was this King Chi cigar box. You can pick this up on Amazon. It's not plugged in right now. This has three really key features. It humidifies your cigars. It has a water reservoir in the back. So it humidifies your cigars. It cools your cigars to make sure they're stored at the optimal temperature as well. And it's airtight to make sure you have a stable environment in here. And so this is what it looks like. It has a Spanish cedar box in here. If you take that out, you can see here in the back, this is where the humidity comes from, and also a small cooling device. And then if we pull this forward here, you can see kind of this rubber seal, so it's airtight. And so this is pretty much like the Mac Daddy of desktop humidors. It is a little bit more expensive, but it's still fairly affordable. And if you're watching this around the holiday time, it's on sale on Amazon. Again, I'll have this link below, but this is a really great option as well. It's up to personal preference. I prefer this one. If I had to recommend one, it's kind of tough because it just depends on where you are and how large your collection is, I actually probably couldn't recommend one of these just for anybody. If you're starting out and you're on a budget, this is definitely the best option. If you like a traditional style desktop humidor, then I would recommend you this one. And if you want a humidor that does everything, a desktop humidor that does everything, then definitely pick this one up. And lastly, the fifth cigar essential is actually a couple of different products. I just didn't think these really had a place in a category of their own, and they're just as essential, so I wanted to make sure that they got featured. But it's a couple of different things. I don't really have a name for this category since these products aren't necessarily related. But getting right into it, the first thing is a hygrometer. So a hygrometer measures the relative humidity, and relative meaning that it's relative to the temperature. So if you have a constant humidity at different temperatures, the relative humidity will be different. And there's a formula that you can use to calculate that. It's a lot easier to just buy a hygrometer and it'll tell you the relative humidity. So, they say for cigars, you should keep them around 70 degrees at a 70% relative humidity. I actually don't really abide by that rule. I think it needs to be a little bit lower, especially for where I live. Or that's just been my experience. 70-70, the 70-70 rule tends to make my cigars a bit over humidified. So I like my cigars more at like 65, and I'm actually fine with them even being a little bit lower than that. So there's two different hygrometers here. This is a Bluetooth hygrometer. It connects to this app on your phone. This is what I recommend putting in your other cigar humidors. Just kind of like put it in there, leave it alone, and you can monitor the humidity on your phone. So it's nice, you can keep an eye on the humidity from a distance, and it tracks it and it puts it into like a little chart. And this is pretty cheap, available on Amazon. The other one is this larger version with a digital display. This is, I guess you would just keep this out in your house, but the reason I like to have this is that I think it's really important for people to know, if you're collecting cigars, what the ambient humidity and temperature is in your house. It's fluctuating now because I'm touching it, and I think there's like sensors on the back here or something, but as you can see, like right now it's pretty cold in my house. It's 66, it's the winter time here, and the humidity is in the high 50s, low 60s. So for me, I know that if I keep my cigars outside of the humidor, they're not gonna, instantly get ruined. This is pretty close to where I like to keep my cigars anyways. So I know that when it comes to, setting up my humidor, I'm probably not going to need to humidify it as much as somebody that lives in a very arid and dry climate. Because my humidity is actually doing pretty well. It's also been raining, so, past couple days this was maybe in like the 40s, and that is a little too low for sure. But it's not, approaching zero or whatever. So this is actually really helpful. I would recommend having both of these. One to keep an eye on the humidity in your humidor, and one just so you know what the humidity is like outside of humidor. The second thing here is this tool called a Perfect Draw. This is the second version. I forget who made this, but this is really helpful when it comes to like saving your cigars from a plug draw. So that's something that can happen because cigars are a handmade product. You can get a plug draw from time to time and it can ruin your cigar. So instead of throwing it out with a plug draw, if you get this Perfect Draw, which is, a really cheap tool, you can actually correct the draw itself. But this is different than a draw poker. The poker will just tunnel holes or make holes in it, which doesn't really solve the problem. This actually goes and finds bunches of tobacco that are too tight, and with the tip on here, it actually pulls them out of the cigar and actually does improve the draw. So I would really recommend one of these, especially if you like to smoke Cuban cigars. The quality control with Cuban cigars isn't quite as good as it is for other countries, and especially with the price of Cuban cigars these days, you don't really want to throw them out if they have a plug draw. So I would highly recommend investing in one of these. And then the last little thing here, and something that's not featured either, is like just a cigar stand. This is a really tiny one. I honestly just use this to take pictures. This is nice if you're just sitting outside and maybe you don't have, you know, a larger ashtray where you can put your cigar down. Just rest your cigar here. Obviously some of these lighters, I showed you they have this, but if you want a separate one, and maybe if you want to take pictures, this is really helpful just to put your cigar down. You don't really want to put your cigar, you know, on the ground or just lay it on the table. So a cigar stand, and then also I mentioned it, but an ashtray. It's outside and it has ash in it, and I didn't clean it out for this video, but you'll definitely want an ashtray. You can just use like a bowl. If there's a bowl you don't really care about, you can ash it into a bowl, or if you want to take the top off of a can, that works too. You know, whatever works for your budget and your preference. So for me personally, I would definitely recommend a cigar ashtray or even this little cigar rest. So if you've enjoyed this, I would really appreciate you guys hitting the subscribe button. I do different videos like this. I'm currently working on a Humidor collection update. I think in the future I'm going to do some cigar reviews, or at least, you know, my top 5 lists and, you know, stuff like that. So if you're interested in more content like that, just subscribe. If you like this video, please give it a like and keep an eye out for future videos.